Sarah, Matt, and Alan, could you talk about oaths? How seriously should we take, if we should take them seriously, and uphold them, and the meaning of being released from one? Alan, go ahead and take the first swing at this one.
I think taking an oath is the most serious and most sacred thing that you can do. When you bind yourself, and you're weird with someone else for a purpose, when first of all, I think it should be very narrowly done, with lots of circumspection, before you say those words and do that thing, and bind yourselves together. You have to think it through very carefully and make sure that that is exactly the right thing to do. And it should absolutely be taken seriously, which is why when we take the oaths that we do as folk builder, as Gothi, the wedding ceremonies and so forth that we do, we remind everyone before they take that oath, we remind them again of the seriousness of taking those oaths, because they do, it does bind that spiritual part of yourself, in a very real and lasting way. And when you break those oaths, it chips away a part of your soul. So it's absolutely something that you have to take super serial.
So this is complex, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I've seen it's baffling and interesting to see how people have taken the value of oaths in my time in Asatru. Oaths are extremely important. Your word is very much your bond. And when you formalize it in a ritual context with making an oath, it's very powerful and very important. And there's consequences for breaking oaths. I've seen what I was going to say, what I was leading off with. I've seen situations where people feel that there is a conflicting oath that goes on, or that there's conflicting loyalties. And it seems, and I know that some of this is human nature, but our people are particularly susceptible to choosing the oaths that are most convenient for them and going ride or die with those oaths. But the oaths that they don't like, they find a convenient way to weasel out of. And it's completely unacceptable for you to ever break an oath with them, but they can break an oath to you at whim because reasons. I think our folk have a very unreasonable, imbalanced view of oathing. Like I've seen people with their kindred oaths always supersede their AFA oaths for some reason. And that reason is convenience, because it's easier not to hurt the feelings of your friends than to care about people that are distant from you. Oaths don't work like that. Another misconception about oaths. Okay, so I've seen other people that have taken profound leadership oaths and break those at the drop of the hat like they're nothing, but sacrifice lots of things for very small, or would seemingly less consequential oaths to kindred members or dude they came up with. So I think one thing about oaths is very important is make sure your oaths are not conflicting or are done in such a way that if there's a conflict, there's a resolution path. And that leads me to the other thing I wanted to say about oaths. Oaths are a contract between two entities, and there's typically terms on both sides of that. If the other side of your oath violates the terms of the oath, then it's completely appropriate to address that. And if irreconcilable, it no longer binds you to your portion of it if that's agreed upon. I think it's very reasonable to get the people who've chosen to enter into oaths to dissolve those oaths if the fundamental situations of life have changed. And there's honorable ways to try to do that rather than just running off and breaking your oaths. It's worth the time to renegotiate and come up with an equitable and appropriate solution rather than to just abandon one's responsibilities. And I think as grown adults, the older we get in life, we see more and more occasions in life where we're unable to continue with perhaps oaths that we've made that we shouldn't have made. I think one of the most obvious ones of those is divorce. And I think a lot of us, myself included, have been involved in divorce that were, oathed to be till death do us part, and then didn't quite work out that way. And it's unfortunate, but it's still serious, and there's still a debt on those. I think another oath a lot of us have engaged in is baptism. I know that's one that I feel bad that I broke that oath. So I think that we need to be realistic that there's consequences, but it's not one and done and you're worthless for the rest of eternity if an oath is broken. But they're very important, and they need to be considered in the extreme before they're made. And I'd also venture to say they should be made sparingly so that they don't conflict and so that you can focus your seriousness on maintaining the commitments that you have made.
And I think you also bring up the valid point of getting released from the oath, which is if the agreement is mutual, certainly divorce is an example, but also, I'm getting ready to move to somewhere where we can't be together as kindred anymore. I would like to be released from this oath that we have together. Absolutely. Or my life circumstances has changed and I cannot fulfill my oath as a folk builder. I don't have time to do it. I would like to be released from the oath. You can be released from an oath in an honorable way. But what you don't want to do is slink away from it, because again, you leave that piece of your soul behind, and it's not it's not coming back.
Yeah, it's a finite resource. The other thing that I want to say to that is, and I mentioned this a lot on this program, and please don't take this that this has come easy for me or that I'm perfect at this in my own life. We all have things that we're afraid of or make us uncomfortable. But courage is really, it's essential to the practice of Asatru. It's essential to all of our virtues. And it's something that our folks specifically are very, very lacking in today. And we're working hard to rebuild that. But when we think of courage as, there's people with bar fight courage, and that's the courage that so many of our men think about, courage in battle. And that is a important courage. And in times where it's necessary, that is a truly profound and one of the greatest courages. But on the day-to-day in 2022, a courage that we often lack is a social courage. To say something that may hurt feelings, or to say something that may cause people to make you feel uncomfortable. And so rather than taking the courage of a 20-minute phone call to honorably ask for release and dissolve an oath in an appropriate way, we would rather send an angry email and just abdicate our responsibility because we feel it's easier. And it may be easier in the moment, but it's not easier in the long run. And I challenge you guys to stand up and have social courage as best you can. That's a challenge for all of us. That's a challenge for me. I don't like letting people down or hurting people's feelings or having awkward conversations with people. Like, I get it, but it's important that we rise to that. It's important that every time we realize the only thing holding us back from something is fear, that we conquer that fear. And that we don't allow that fear to dictate our actions, that we live up to the Odenshoff motto of do right and fear none. So I'd encourage you guys to do that. Finn says, what if we have broken oaths in the past? Now I'm going to let Alan get to this. I think he's probably got some more meat on it, but I want to just throw out there, try to fix it. The best we can do, we don't forgive and erase. That's not real. There's an actual damage that is caused when you violate an agreement. to the best of your ability, try to fix what you broke. If there's a way to compensate or to fix a party that you've wronged, do that first. Yes, take responsibility and apologize. That's great. Ask forgiveness. That's great. But fix what you broke as close and as best as you can. That's the first step in those things. And then try to counterbalance them by worthy deeds from here on out for the rest of your life. You can't take that away, but you can put in good over top of the bad and make a better product at the end. It's not a one and done proposition. This life is, as short as it is, it's long too. And you've got a lot of years that you can try to right wrongs that you've done and try to, overcome that balance and end up in the black instead of in the red, as it were. Alan, what do you got?
I like how you go, I'm going to let Alan take this, and then you then you say everything I was going to say. But it's, it is a fundamental precept of the way that we recognize the debt that we owe each to each other. And that's behind the concept of paying weregild or shield when you break an oath. And because, and there's a long, boring story I'll tell some other time, but it is about the difference between the horizontal relationship and the I did that backwards, the vertical relationship versus the horizontal relationship. The thing that we see out there in a lot of the world right now is only God can judge me, and that is one of the Christian precepts is that your holy relationship is only vertical. It's up on that axis. But for us, the holy relationship is between each other. The bond that we share as a folk is also holy. And when that bond is broken, then you have to do something to heal it. And it absolutely is to go back and try to fix what it is. And it can be simple things. Yes, you apologize. And you talk about something that takes courage. Go to somebody that you've wronged and say, I admit what I did was wrong. What can I do to make it right? And, whether it, and some sort, accompanied by some sort of outward act, here's a bottle of your favorite bourbon. Let me wash your car. Here's some eggs that my chickens laid, that I will give to you to try to make this right. So healing that broken relationship heals your soul too, because, when you break off that oath, you break off a piece of your soul, and that's the only way to restore it is to dig down and make it right. It's tough. Take some courage.
Most things that are worthwhile do. Finn also asks, is an oath we make for ourselves important too? If we say, I swear an oath to myself and I will do this or that to improve myself, is that important? What are your thoughts, Alan?
Yes, it is absolutely important. And it can be a mechanism to help you manifest that intent. You have to be careful about what penalty you impose, on yourself. I'm sure, Matt, you may be thinking the same example that I'm thinking of, but I will be able to do 100 sit-ups by December 31st, or else I will, cut my ponytail off or something like that. I mean, so you just, if that helps you generate the energy that's required to manifest that in yourself, then absolutely it can be a critical motivator. But what you also have to do, and that is that second component, what I would stay well away from is like the penalty-free oath. I swear by all that is holy that I will do thus and so. And then if you don't do it, you're just out in the ether. I swear that I will do this, or else I will, um, never drink beer again. Okay, that will help you make that happen. But you have to either fulfill the oath or engage the penalty. That's what I'm trying to get around to.
So something important with that is not only is it a motivator for you to follow through with your oath, but it's a way for you to even out the cosmic penalty for you not doing it. If the oath, if there is a this or that and you accomplish one of those, then you're not losing out with your weird or your orlog. The other thing I'd say is it really depends.
Lose a finger.
One of the things that separates oaths from just saying something is you tend to formalize it. If you make an oath in front of the gods or you invoke powers to witness your oath, then it's no longer just an oath within yourself. It is something that's played out with the, interest of other parties. And in that sense, absolutely, it's binding. So I think that
don't do it lightly. You don't want to just do it on a whim, because you don't want to attract that attention in a negative way.
Absolutely.